All right, so whether you have the plastic folder or you have the cardboard folder, they all have the same amount of stuff in it, the same materials. We've got a little baggie in here that has charcoal, some blending stumps. I gave you all a roll of tape as well, and then I've got a lot of paper, obviously, on the inside. So they are both identical. I got a student in here right now, so I'm just going to give you, this is yours for the year. Sorry about that. All right, and with that, I'm going to open this stuff up real quick. We'll go through the stuff that I'm giving you, and then I will kind of explain how to get started on the portrait. Sorry about that. A little bit annoying. So inside our little baggie of stuff over here, we have 2 packages of charcoal. These are just willow type charcoal. For those of you who did do drawing and painting with me, you guys are familiar with this. I've given you one nice big kneaded eraser, one white charcoal pencil. We're using that on black paper. I've given you 2 bundles of blending stumps, one regular eraser. It's not the best eraser in the world. You might have better ones at home. One piece of Conte crayon. These things, like the crayon and the charcoal, might break into smaller pieces. As long as they are not like too tiny to hold, it's totally usable. And that is basic for the drawing material. I do plan on giving you guys some colored pencil, but the issue is that right at this moment, I don't have enough sets, large sets, to give out like that. I do plan on getting more, and I don't think that we'll do colored pencil in the 3rd marking period. We'll probably do it either at the end of the 3rd marking period or definitely the 4th all the way through. So we will do color. I just didn't have enough to hand out, and we'll just probably have to do another handout stuff, but hopefully that's in the springtime, at least when things are a little bit warmer. That's your roll of masking tape, so there's no issues as far as that goes. And then inside the folder, I couldn't find bigger rulers, so we're going to make do with these. If you have a bigger ruler at home, that's fine. I've given you 2 pieces of sort of rough quality, high quality watercolor paper. I gave you 2 pieces of black drawing paper. This is what we'll use the white on. 2 pieces of neutral tone paper that we'll use for colored pencil. This paper is either like a cream color, it could be gray, it could be brown, it's just non-white. You can see the sizes on that. I gave you 1 really big piece of Bristol paper. This would be pencil paper that we use over there. And then I gave you 2 pieces of white charcoal paper. And how do you tell the difference between the charcoal paper and the Bristol paper? They're both white. The charcoal paper is smaller, okay? It is the 2nd biggest paper that I gave you. So it's not the largest sheet. That sheet is not for us. The charcoal paper is going to be the next size down from that. So there's 1 really big piece, and there are 2 slightly smaller pieces. You'll see that they're thinner and they have a little bit more texture. And this is the paper that we're going to do our charcoal portraits on. You only need 1 of those sheets for right now. I also put inside one of these giant acrylic boards, and these are basically there for the purposes of keeping your work straight. So what I would tell you is you could keep this plastic coating on it. It really doesn't matter. And what I'll tell you to do is get that charcoal paper and tape it down. Now, if you're not 100% sure at any point of what you're doing, that's a time to ask and make sure you're doing the right thing. I did give you a lot of paper, but I also didn't give you an endless supply. I do plan on using most of it. I did give you a couple extra sheets of everything just in case, but for the most part, I do plan on using as much of it as possible, so try not to waste any of it. I gave you 2 pieces of charcoal paper just in case. So what you've seen I've done is I've taped my paper down to that hard board. This way it's going to keep my work from getting bent or ruined. And again, if you're not sure what's what, notice the size of this paper taped down to the board. The other white paper is actually the full size of the board. So if you're taping it down and it's covering the entire board, you're using the wrong stuff. with that, then we're going to work in pencil. And I didn't give you pencil. I hope that you have pencil. And if you don't, you're going to have to go out and buy it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to set this up for a grid. I know a lot of you have already done a grid with me before, so this might be a little bit of a review. But if it's not, well then, that's why we're doing it again. Now the issue with the rulers are that the rulers are not long enough for what we need to do. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start on one edge and I'm going to put the sort of 0 at that end. And I'm going to mark off every 2 inches. And this again should just be a review for most of you. And I'm recording this and I'm going to post it, so if you do need to re-watch this or you get confused at any one part, you're going to see exactly the way I do it. And you can obviously stop, rewind, mute me, or whatever. So I'm going to measure up the side, and I've marked off at every 2 inches. So that's 1, 2 inches. And now what I'm going to do, since I can't go all the way across with this ruler, I'm going to just pick a spot, maybe a little bit beyond halfway over here, and I'm going to make sure that, again, I'm starting down here at the 0, and I'll mark off again every 2 inches. And that way I can kind of play connected dots. It'll be a little bit more work than we did in the past, but unfortunately couldn't find 2-foot-long rulers that work for everybody. So what you can see, I have 2 points over here. It may be very hard to see those points on my projection, but you can see them right now. You can see my points right there. I've marked off 2 points. I've also marked off, you can see, sorry guys, this is the biggest paper I've tried to work with class, so it is a little wonky. There we go. Those are my other 2 points right over there. They're a little bit out of focus. I'm going to bring it back over here and just work this way for the rest of the time. Hopefully that's a little bit better for us all. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up to the 2 marks that I made. That way I know they'll be parallel. I'll line it up, and again, our grid is something that we want to make it disappear into the background. So we really don't want to press down too dark. Since I can't continue the line, I'll just kind of line up my ruler to the other end and sort of finish it off. I'm going to make the next few lines a little bit darker so you can actually see it on the video, but I do want you to keep in mind that your grid should actually be really, really, really light. That way it really just disappears in the background. It's very easy to draw. For those of you who did this project before, you realize you want that grid to disappear later on, and the darker you make it, the harder it becomes for it to disappear. And as the examples that I showed you from the other students, you can see the ones that seem like they're the highest quality, they are also the cleanest, and the ones where you really see the least amount of extra extraneous marks. So even though I'm making my grid a little dark right over here, I want you guys to keep that in mind, that when you're working, you should make this only dark enough for you to be able to see it. Don't press down any harder than you need to. That way you can make things disappear. All right? And you guys, I'm going to give you a lot of time to get this part of the project done, because basically I feel like you're going to need a day or 2 just to get the supplies in. What I'm going to do is all I really want to see is that by Friday you guys have the actual supplies and you picked them up. I might make a little assignment out of it so that you guys can sort of check in with me and let me know that you did get them. And then really it is about setting up your paper with the grid, and then probably tomorrow or the next day I'll post a couple videos about the drawing part. You saw some of that yesterday in the other videos that I posted. You also, a lot of you, not all of you, but a lot of you have done this project before, so you do have some experience. But even if you have done it before, I'd like to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And it's been a year, and it's been the craziest year ever, so you may want to get a little bit of a refresher. For the bottom, again, I'm going to mark off every 2 inches, and I'm going to do that all the way to the end. Again, if your ruler's not making to the end, you're either on the wrong paper or you're doing something wrong. We'll go from there, and then we're going to line this up over here. I'm not going to go all the way up the paper because, again, my ruler won't reach, but I'll go maybe halfway up over here, and I'll mark off again let's see over here, every 2, 2, 4, and again, the 0 of my ruler is at that end of the paper. I'll do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 across, and then I'll continue on with my ruler and mark them. I will line up my ruler with the 2 points that I made. I made a point at the bottom of the page, down over here. I made a point over here. I'll line those up, make my light line. Again, my lines are going to be a little bit darker than yours, only because I'm trying to do it so you guys can see. And again, the reason I marked 2 points is that I want to be able to make sure that my lines are going to be parallel and even. If you just try to eyeball this, I guarantee you it will be crooked. After 40-something years of drawing and all the work that I put in, I still can't eyeball perfectly parallel lines. I still need to measure. So please don't skimp through this part, and take your time and make sure it's accurate. And this is really, it will take you 10 minutes if that. But it is actually one of the most important parts over here, because if your grid is crooked, the rest of your drawing is going to be crooked. And for some of you it won't make a difference with your faces because you're kind of crooked anyway. But for those of you who care how you look, you want to make sure that we get this part right. And I'm almost done, and I'm going to kind of milk it a little bit today because this is all I got for you. I'll take any questions. I'll also encourage anybody, again, who did not submit the photo yet, that you need to submit that photo so I can go ahead and set it up for you. Again, this is what your paper should look like. We're talking about 8 boxes this way and 10 boxes that way. If for whatever reason your boxes look crooked, if they look rectangular, if they don't look like mine look, you did something wrong. You're going to need to ask me and everything else like that. With that, I want to let you know that you should be working on this hard board over here. This will be a good surface for you to work on. Everything else, as far as like the other paper and all that other stuff, you can just put it aside. We're not going to need that right now. So you can store that away. You can slide it under your bed. You can put it wherever you work, wherever you're comfortable with. And then we're going to start on our portraits. I want to make this all for today. Tomorrow I will start in with the actual portraits and everything else like that. What I will do is I'm going to post creating your grid as an assignment. The assignment's basically going to be like pick up your supplies and draw a grid. So this will be your way of letting me know that you got this stuff. And with that, I'll pause this and I'll post this video too.